Welcome back to the Brandon Parnes Hour of Fun. Brandon Parnes here. And I have on the phone, this is crazy. We only set this up today. This is Thursday, the 7th, if you care, that we're pre-recording this. I have Swampy Marsh, the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb on Disney Channel. Today, it was announced that Phineas and Ferb would make its final bow with an episode called Perfectly, The Last Day of Summer, and a new series, I believe it's called Mikey... Dan? I mean Swampy. Sorry,
It's Mikey Murphy's Law.
Mikey Murphy's Law. That's it. Of course, you would know. And that's going to be bowing in 2017, I believe.
Yes.
So
fall of 2017.
So Swampy Marsh, so happy to have you here.
Darn good to be here. This did come about very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Which nothing in this business usually does, so it's kind of nice that all worked out.
Yeah. In a nice little bow. So I told you before we started recording, I jumped on the Phineas and Ferb bandwagon when the first preview episode of Roller Coaster aired right after High School Musical 2 back in August of 2007. I loved it instantly, and it just became this. It blew up pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was frighteningly fast. Kind of shocked me. And you know, we always thought it would do well.
Yeah.
But the speed and size of it was crazy. And a lot of it had to do with Disney really, really got behind it in the best possible way. Like, we had the first global launch of an animated show. It went out at the same time everywhere in the world. And they really believed in the show and fortunately believed in us to kind of let it all hang out, as it were.
Yeah.
And thank gosh it connected, or we'd have all looked like a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, and it definitely worked. I want to start go chronologically a bit. How'd you get your start in animation in this crazy world of show business?
Oh, well, I didn't actually get into animation until I was 28 years old.
Wow.
Before that, I'd been kind of everything. I mean, literally, my list of jobs is comically long. I've, been a janitor, done concrete construction work and finishing. I installed water beds for a living for a while. I made fiberglass boats and race car bodies.
Wow.
I worked behind a bar at a nightclub in the UK. Wow. I detailed cars for a living. I got into banking, of all weird things, at the beginning of the ATM machine explosion, and then ended up in the computer business. And my last real job, before I ran away and joined the circus, as it were, was vice president of sales and marketing for a computer accessories company. I used to work with Bill Gates and all kinds of wacky folks, and I just realized one day that I didn't care about it.
Wow.
I was good at it. I was successful, but it didn't mean anything to me. I had this moment of panic that if I kept doing it, I could easily end up being 60 years old, still doing the same thing, and still not caring about it. And so I quit. And a friend said, "You should get into animation." And I thought, okay, that makes good sense. Sure, whatever. Why not? And he'd seen my drawings and said, we can get you a portfolio together, and I think you can do backgrounds, because I had a bunch of architecture in my background. I used to do that for a living as well and took it in high school. And within 3 months, I had a job doing backgrounds on The Simpsons.
Wow.
And that was back on the second season of The Simpsons in the late 80s.
Wow.
Where I first met Dan Povenmire, not the first couple of years. He came on and started sitting across the aisle from me, like third season.
Gotcha.
And then within 4 years, I was writing and directing on Rocko's Modern Life.
Yeah.
With Dan. That's where they put us together as a writing team.
Yeah.
And that's what we were working on when we created Phineas and Ferb back in 1993.
So back in 1993, how did that idea of two kids It's summer. They do wild and crazy things. Their sister tries to get their mom to see these things and they never see them. How did that crazy idea come about?
Well, it started with kind of one of those middle-aged guy rants that you have.
Yeah.
With, kids today don't get out and do anything. They just spend time sitting in their room playing video games and watching DVDs, or back then VHS tapes. For you kids, you'll have to go look that up on the internet.
I remember VHS.
Yeah.
I used it up until 2012, to be perfectly honest with you.
Oh, pretty cool. Yeah. Old school. Yeah. But that was it. We remembered all the stuff we used to do. I mean, we built crazy stuff and spent an entire summer, Dan did, with his living room draped in black cloth so he could film a science fiction movie with miniatures. And we both had parents that would encourage us to do that stuff, put on plays and build go-karts and all kinds of wackiness. And that was the genesis of it. It's like, what if you were a 10-year-old kid and you could do anything and you weren't hampered by the laws of physics or finances? And that's where Phineas and Ferb was born. And, of course, Perry and Doofenshmirtz was just because we liked doing chases and action-adventure stuff.
Yeah, I gotcha. That really encapsulates the show right there. And, of course, as we said, Phineas and Ferb is ending this June. Is it June or July? Is it June?
I think it's June. Is when the last day of summer episode airs.
Yeah.
And we have another kind of, it's not really a spin-off, but there's an Alka Files adventure, the OWCA, the Organization Without a Cool Acronym, as Major Monogram would say, in a whole separate adventure with just Perry, Doof, and the Animal Agents. And it's just an hour-long special because we just sort of wanted to play in that environment.
Yeah, I gotcha. And looking towards these final episodes, is there anything that you thought would be like, wow, it's ending? Like, what were those thoughts going through your head when you were like recording them or starting to animate or coming up with the storylines? What were those thoughts that were going through your head?
We were really grateful that they gave us a chance to actually close the series, to bookend the series, because that's what we really wanted.
Yeah.
And you don't almost ever get to do that in animated shows.
Yeah, definitely.
So just that we were given the opportunity to do that was so incredible that you want to make sure you get it right. And you go into it knowing that you're not going to please everybody. There's always going to be storylines and characters that people wanted to see more of, but it was really important that we got it right for us. And we did that, we did the show justice at the end. It still had to be fun and funny and musical and touching and emotional and all that stuff. So everybody really busted their hump. The rest of the feelings, it was a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
We've lived with these guys. Dan and I have lived with them since 1993. Everybody else on the show, we started working on it in earnest here at Disney in 2006.
Yeah.
And then it went on the air in 2008. These guys are our family. All the show, the folks who work on it and the people that do the voices and our support crew, as well as those little animated characters themselves. And kind of watching the ending of that episode, even after the 20th or 25th time, we still get emotional. It was just a lot of people with sweaty eyes, as it were, day in, day out. But it was also really great. It was a lot of hugging and time to reflect on just what an impact this show has had on the world and how many people have had the chance to reach out to us and tell us what an impact it's had personally on them.
Yeah.
And I don't, I know so many people who go through their whole career and never really get that level of connection.
Yeah.
I just feel so incredibly lucky that everything came together at the right time in the right place and the right group to make that happen. And I've said it before, and it's absolutely true. If this is the only thing I'm ever remembered for in my career, I'm completely fine with that, because it is the thing far and away, career-wise, that I am more proud of than anything I've done. And yeah, it would be nice if I come up with something else that I'm remembered for too. But if that doesn't happen, that's okay.
Well, that's great.
This show's been great, and literally since we announced it, I've just been flooded with tweets and Instagrams and Facebooks and emails on all my email accounts of people telling us again that the show brought their family together, that, this is what caused their kid to want to be an engineer or a mathematician, or that they sing all this stuff. It's overwhelming and wonderful, and gosh, how lucky I am to have been a part of that.
Definitely. We're going to be right back with more of Swampy Marsh right after this here on the Braden Parnes Hour of Fun. Welcome back to the Braden Parnes Hour of Fun. On the phone with me is Swampy Marsh, co-creator Phineas and Ferb, and co-creator as well of the new show Mikey Murphy's Law, which will be bowing in 2017. Can you give us a little tease of what the new show is about?
A little bit. It's Mikey Murphy is the great grandson of Murphy from Murphy's Law, the person for whom everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And Mikey is afflicted with the same familial condition that everything goes wrong for him. The only difference is Mikey has always looked on that as it making his life much more of an adventure.
So very optimistic.
So if somebody would say to him, "Oh, that's unlucky," he'd think, "Oh, are you kidding? Unlucky? Gosh, no. Because of this, my life's an adventure every day. It's a new experience. It's exciting. It's thrilling. It's unexpected. I wouldn't want it any other way."
So kind of taking
it's
that
really more about how his friends and family and the people that surround him are affected by that wackiness.
So kind of like the idea of Phineas and Ferb of seizing the day, carpe diem.
A little bit. I always had that feeling. Without going into a whole bunch of stories, my life was pretty weird and wacky and chaotic. As an example, my mom has been married and divorced 7 times. There was a lot of insanity, and you either look at it as the reason that your life is awful and that things aren't working out for you, or you realize, hey, this is great. I've had far more wonderful, wacky, weird experiences than anybody I know.
Yeah.
I've learned from it, and it's made me, I think, hopefully a more interesting person.
Yeah, I gotcha.
At least it makes me appreciate things, I think, more than a lot of folks I know. And it really comes down to, it really is a decision you make about how you look at all the stuff that happens in life. You can either let it get you down and let it beat you down, or you can say, hey, I've had the opportunity to learn a whole bunch of stuff that if all this stuff hadn't happened to me, I wouldn't have known. As a result, I got to choose my dad, and the guy who raised me was my mom's 4th husband, a guy named Bill Marsh, who was an incredible human being, sadly no longer with us. But he was the guy who taught me more stuff than I think he'd ever known that I actually learned.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. And that's kind of what the basis of Mikey is. It's like, you choose how all the stuff that happens in life affects you.
Definitely. And that's just a cool concept for a show, and I love it already, so I'm excited to see it when it airs. One of the, I think, everybody's favorite character, and I'm not just saying that because you're here, and one of the things about Phineas and Ferb is, I think every character is everybody's favorite character because they're all in a way so relatable. And you voice Major Monogram, Francis Monogram, on the show.
Francis Monogram of the OWCA, the organization without a cool acronym.
Well, since you're here, Major Monogram, do you mind if I ask you a few questions?
Certainly not. There's very little evil going on today, and I think most of it is minor, enough that Carl can handle it completely on his own. Carl, I'm going to be doing a radio show. Please take over temporarily. What can I answer you, young man?
Okay. So, first off, I want to know why the name? Why the name? You really couldn't find a nice acronym?
Well, sadly, we were rather late to the game. All the really good acronyms were taken. Hindsight, I probably should have waited a little bit longer before I registered it, but I was kind of in a hurry, needed to get home to the little woman for taco night, so there you go. Oka.
So I'm not going to have you choose favorites here, but I would say, who of all of your agents, who would you say has the best track record?
Oh, far and away. Perry the Platypus, Agent P, is definitely our crack agent. We have other folks who've done good, fine work, but nobody at the level of Perry the Platypus. He's much better equipped than any of the other agents. Beavertail, Duckbill, Steely Gaze, Poisonous Barbs. I mean, he's the whole package.
That's amazing. And my final question is, seen any good movies lately?
My wife and I like to watch some of the oldies. A particular favorite of ours is The Music Man.
That's a good one.
With a capital T. Love that.
That's a good one. Thank you, Major Monogram. You can put Swampy back on the phone.
Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day. Carl, I'm back. Hey.
Oh, that was great. Thanks for doing that. That was fun.
Oh, that's been a joy. Doing that guy has made my week in, week out for the longest time. And I will miss him.
That's great. But at least you can do the voice, so whenever you want to entertain yourself, you can just slip right into it.
I know I'm still leaving voice messages for friends' kids every so often, which they said is always great.
Yeah. So my experience with Phineas and Ferb was great. I remember the day. I can't tell you the date, but I just remember the moment of getting the first album of all the songs, which I thought using music was a fantastic idea. I think my favorite probably has to be either My Nemesis, Goody Two-Shoes Brother, or SIMP, Squirrels in My Pants. Those are my favorites.
My Goody Two-Shoes Brother was really funny. We were in a meeting, and we wrote that fairly early on. And it's one of my favorite songwriting bits. We were trying to figure out this chorus, and we got called into a meeting. And when you're first here at Disney, there's a lot of meetings, and some of them you know what's going on, and some of them you don't. Everything is acronyms. We found sitting in meetings half the time, we had no idea what the acronyms they were throwing around were, which is, I think, the reason that the OWCA joke came up. And I was sitting in a meeting with Dan, and all of a sudden, I had this inspiration. I started writing it down, and Dan's looking at me, and I can tell what he's thinking is, gee, Swampy's taking a lot of notes at this meeting. Is there something going on that I should be listening to? Because I was kind of bored. And I got out of the meeting, and Dan goes, dude, you were taking notes. What was going on? And that's when I read, My Goody Two-Shoes Brother, the favorite of my mother, is the one I'd like to smother in a ton of pigeon goo.
I love that.
God, it was that, because for some reason I thought there was something so much more important going on, and I couldn't figure out what the hell it was.
Yeah. And what's great is because I love music. Music's one of my favorite things in life. And just that song, to me, it's like a perfect song because you have it's a good throwback song because it's like the fast, the Goody Two-Shoes Brother, but then it has like the breakdown at the end, the Goody Two-Shoes Brother. I love that, and it's my favorite. And I was watching a couple episodes. That's how I prepare for interviews like this. One of my favorites that I watched was the one Bubble Boy / Isabella in the Temple of Sap.
Oh yeah, the Temple of Sap.
That was a great example of what the show is in a nutshell. You can never know what you can expect from it because it can take something so basic, just like a typical episode, but then reverse on its head in the second half and be a retelling of the same episode, and it's genius. I love it. And
thanks, man.
another one I watched was Roller Coaster Musical, where you just see all the characters at the end up to that point. Even like the little characters like Meep and stuff. I love it. And then you throw in Kenny Ortega, who is a great use of an obscure celebrity that the kids will actually know, because it premiered right after High School Musical 2, and I thought that was just brilliant.
It was a nice connection.
Yeah. It was brilliant, because it's like the reason I found out who Bruce Willis was from watching a commercial for the Rugrats movie and seeing that he was voicing Spike the dog, but I knew Kenny Ortega from High School Musical, so it's brilliant. I love it. And like you have to watch so closely, because it's like Airplane to me. It's like a kid's version of Airplane. You watch closely, every time you watch it, you see something different.
Well, I was talking to somebody just recently. I was doing a podcast, and we were talking about things that influenced you, and one of them for me was Buckaroo Banzai, Adventures Across the Eighth Dimension. And the thing about it, why it was so inspirational to me, is that I learned from that it's not important that everybody gets everything the first time.
Yeah.
It's okay if everybody doesn't get every joke. Yeah. There's stuff there for people to catch every time they watch it. It's why, Bugs Bunny was so great. Watching it every few years, you realize there was a whole level of jokes going on that you didn't get.
Exactly.
And so we never took anything out because we thought somebody wouldn't get it, because we thought it was too smart for the room. We took stuff out if it's inappropriate or confusing.
Because it is Disney Family Channel.
Kids are smarter than you think they are.
Definitely.
Audiences in general, you can never go wrong, overestimating your audience's intelligence. And that's what I thought we did best. We made it okay to kind of have the audience reach for a joke sometime, or just doing stuff saying, you know what, people and kids, they're smarter than you think. Give them a chance to get this. And that's when I think we were at our best.
Definitely. We're going to be back with just a little bit more of Swampy Marsh here on the Brandon Parnes Hour of Fun. Welcome back to the Brandon Parnes Hour of Fun. I'm here with Swampy Marsh, the co-creator of Phineas and Ferb. It's a fantastic show, and it is coming to a close later this year in June. The final episode is titled Last Day of Summer, which is a perfect end to it. Perfect title for it. And it's said in the theme song, there's 104 days of summer vacation. Once you reached that 104th episode, what were you thinking?
That whole thing has been such a strange... When we first started this show, we thought, wouldn't it be great if we got to do 50 episodes?
Yeah.
Because that would have been a huge success, especially for Disney, and that would have been great. We were just thinking, hey, if we get 2 seasons out of this, go us.
Yeah.
And when we were writing the song, I still don't remember where 104 Days of Summer came from. I'm sure it had a basis in something. I don't remember what it was. Dan seems to remember it, that Sarah, our casting person, who was an executive assistant at the time, threw that out there, something she found on the internet when we were writing the song. We don't know why, but it sounded good to sing. 104 days, it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Immediately when the show became a huge success, we started getting feedback from, where are you living that you get 104 days of summer vacation? Or notes from parents. My kids are really upset because they only get, 60 days of... We're like, I don't know, it was just a funny number at the time. And then we started thinking, as the show got more successful, hey, we might be able to actually do 104 stories. Wouldn't that be cool? We've so blown that out of the water. We've done 126 half hours, which is 252-ish days, really.
Yeah.
And we've just sort of gone so far beyond it. And and that's been really funny. But that 104-day thing, just think, why did we paint ourselves into that box? That was just it went from, are we ever going to get to 104? Why did we pick 104 to? we shouldn't have been so limiting.
Yes. But yeah, the music. Do you think the music in this show? We mentioned it earlier. Is such an integral part of the show. Do you think the new show, Mikey Murphy's Law, will kind of continue that same tradition utilizing music?
Dan and I are incapable of making a show together that doesn't include a lot of music. We've always believed that music really is kind of your immortality.
Yeah.
And our classic example of that is, I'm sure everybody, even kids, have heard at some point the song "Sugar Bum 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 Bum." Oh, honey, honey, bum, 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 bum. That was from the Archies.
Yeah.
An animated television show from the 60s that, even if you remember Archie, nobody remembers anything from that show.
Definitely.
But they all remember the songs.
Yes.
You remember the songs that Bugs Bunny sang. You remember the songs that the Animaniacs sang. You remember Scooby-Dooby-Doo, Where Are You? Songs have this wonderful long life, and they're also an access, a port of access for anybody. Music is what brings in tiny kids who don't understand anything about our show, but they love that wonderful sound.
Yeah.
And so we've always written music. We've always considered it the most fun part of our week. Every Friday we used to sit around with guitars and write stupid songs, and it was just joyously wonderful. And we were never limited by what style of song we wrote or, anything. And so, as soon as we started pitching the show, you guys have a musical element in this? And it's like, well, it's not as integral as it was with Phineas. But trust us, we're not going to make a show that doesn't have music in it.
Definitely.
We just can't. When we first started working together on Rocco's Modern Life and we started writing songs for that, nobody ever asked us to write a song. The first episode we ever worked on together was Rocco's The Wallaby of the West, where Rocco and Heifer go to visit Rocco's uncle on a ranch. And at the end of it, we'd finished the whole episode and everything, and we just decided to throw in this song. And I still remember it. Sit back and I'll regale you about my nephew from Australia. He wouldn't know a cow pie if it slapped him on the rear. He can't ride a rope or wrangle or play a good triangle. And his best friend on the planet is a steer. Rocco wore a bandana that was red. Rocco tamed a horsey that was dead. He came over from down under. He's a real marsupial wonder. Rocco, the Wallaby of the West.
Oh, beautiful.
And we were never asked to write that. Somebody said, "What's the song for?" And we're like, "We don't know. It made us laugh. We just thought it was hysterical." And we just started writing songs after that. And that's when we realized we need to keep working together. That's when we created Phineas and Ferb.
That's amazing. And I think the best way to send Phineas and Ferb up, even though it's a bit premature, but we'll end the interview. Thank you so much for being here. First, before we get to the special ending, where can people find you on the tweets?
I am at M Monogram, at M Monogram for Major Monogram. I'm also the same on Instagram, at M Monogram. Come follow me. Join the party.
Yes, and I've been following you for a long time, and it's been a great party. Thank you, Swampy Marsh, for being here. You can catch the Phineas and Ferb finale, Last Day of Summer, in June. Mikey Murphy's Law will be premiering in 2017. So, yeah, stay tuned for all of that. And here to end it, I think it's only fitting, Swampy. How about we play a little Gitchy Gitchy Goo?
Yes! Do it!
Yes. Well, I think that's probably one of the most popular songs from the show.
That was one of the first ones we wrote. It was the strength of that song that gave the executives the confidence to give us permission to put a song in every episode. Actually requested it at that point. So we have a lot to be grateful for Gitchy Gitchy Goo.
Baby, I love you. And here it is right now. Swampy Marsh, everybody, Gitchy Gitchy Goo right now.